Hello, everybody, and welcome to my literature review. My name's Trent Carlson, and today what I wanted to explore was how have influential leaders of the past affected the media, and what does this mean for the presidency after Trump? So I took a look at three great leaders, one being FDR, one being Winston Churchill, and one being Adolf Hitler. FDR really took advantage of the media in a variety of ways, but the biggest one by far was his fireside chats. This provided a personal conduit from the President of the United States to the people for the first time in history. Never before could a family sit in their living room and listen to the President talk as if it was personally to them. He also did a good job of taking advantage of media on Sundays. On Sundays, he would release these big statements, and it would just fill up the papers. Because back then, we kind of take it granted for now, there wasn't really anything going on Sundays. So, my next person was Winston Churchill, and he had an all right relationship with the press during the beginning. He was definitely a lot more popular. Than the prime minister before him. Neville Chamberlain was a pariah by the press, especially for his policy of appeasement towards Hitler. And that brings me to my next person, Adolf Hitler. He was very good at taking advantage both of the nationalism present in the country as well as the desperate people and press. And there really wasn't a way to stop his rise to power because of it. His two hallmarks, though, were newspapers and motion pictures, which allowed him to spread a lot of his propaganda and ideas to the populace. So overall, what does this have to do with President Trump? Well, normally, presidential press relationships take a three-step path, and that starts with an alliance where there's a lot of correspondence between the two. Then it goes to contempt, where presidents and press start to kind of get in each other's way. There's a lot of negative stories that possibly start to come out. And finally, it goes to abandonment, where there's no correspondence at all between the two, and feelings are really sour. However, with Trump, he has, for some organizations, skipped straight to abandonment. And this could be attributable to a lot of things, but mainly I think it's political bias, especially during his campaigns where MSNBC and CNN would broadcast his rallies in full for free. They didn't get any payment for them. And they did this to kind of question where the Republican Party was going as a whole. Going into his third year as president, Donald Trump has really taken advantage of the distrust between Republicans and Democrats to create an atmosphere where there's a lot of confusion about what's going on. The president might say one thing, whereas the leader of the House might say another, and nobody knows what direction certain policies are heading. So, there are three main theories on Trump's fight with the press. The first one is further distrust in media organizations, and what I mean by that is that you separate Republicans and Democrats into two parts, and there's no correspondence between the two. There's no moderates in the picture. Democrats will see Republicans' news coverage as fake news, and Republicans are going to see Democrats' news organizations as fake news. Another theory was constant coverage that I found. The president wants all the attention on himself, either to create this atmosphere of presidential authority or to distract from what other political leaders are doing during the time. And the third theory is that there's really not a fight at all going on, and that this is really kind of normal. And because of all the fighting that's going on between Trump and some other press members, voters decide to go somewhere else for their news. Whether that's the Washington Post, New York Times, or Breitbart News. Voters are going to other places for their news. They aren't going to sit and watch one thing that they don't trust. So in conclusion, I found three things mainly. History has a lot of mixed experiences, and it's really hard to tie together experiences from FDR and Churchill and Adolf Hitler and say that's exactly what's going to happen to Trump. It doesn't work that way. There's a lot of factors that come in here. What I see is that Winston Churchill really never had a good relationship with the press, but it wasn't bad either. FDR always had a good relationship with the press, and Hitler kind of controlled the press. I think this is the exact opposite, really, of what FDR kind of experienced. It's a lot of negative press as opposed to a lot of positive. The second thing I found was the emergence of new media, and that equals new political exploitation to be taken advantage of, especially in this case, Twitter. President Trump's use of Twitter is, at least in my view, it's revolutionary. It's a lot like FDR's use of the radio, and it's also a personal conduit from the president to the populace itself. The third thing I found was that there's a lot of momentous change. But is it momentous change or is it political distrust? It's one of those factors where it could be either or both. It's kind of hard to discern between the two as well. Whereas the president could inflame, say he puts out another picture of CNN being wrestled by him. What does that mean? Is that really a political conversation, or is that just bullying? It's hard to find out the difference between the two, but I, for certain, want to continue with this project. It's becoming so interesting, and I can't wait to see where it goes. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and I can't wait to see your comments. Thank you.